Stardust City, where the clothes are cream, but the bars are gritty. It's Monday night at 7 p.m., and that must mean it's Mission Log Live. I'm Rekha Sharma.
And I'm John Champion, all the way back from Planet Pimp. Where, let's see, what do we do there? We met Vup. We learned about the aftermarket for Borg tech. We caught up with Bruce Maddox. Hey, I'm so glad about that. I bet it can answer a lot of questions for us as the story unfolds. I'm glad he'll be around for a nice long while. Spoilers?
Reptile bouncers, femme fatales, and costumes galore. We'd love to hear what you have to say. You can join us very easily by clicking on the Zoom meeting link or by using the one tap from your smartphone, or you can just dial us up at 669-900-6833 and enter the meeting code you see on screen.
That's right. So I know you're getting warmed up in the chat because as I do every week, I jump in there, I look at who's there, what they're saying. So I know that you're chatting, and I know that some of you have already called. You're waiting patiently in the queue. But I love it when you bring your thoughts to us face to face. You know what to do. Rekha said it already. I always do what Rekha says, and you should too. Click the link, use the one tap, call 669-900-6833, and we will be here to chat with you.
Yeah, and also a big thank you to tuning in. You might be joining us live right now at facebook.com/missionlogpod or at youtube.com/Roddenberry You might be watching this video later. Every time it cracks me up. You might be watching this video later, or you might be picking up the audio-only podcast later. Either way, we do appreciate you joining us, honestly. All we ask is that you hit like, you hit share, and you tell others to join us for Mission Log Live to talk Trek.
Yes, and so many people who are ready, early in the chat, logging in with some of their opinions, their thoughts, and of course saying hello to us. So there's Rhea saying good evening, morning, and afternoon to all of us. Hi, Earl. Hi, John. Hi, Rekha. Hi, Scott Palm, because of course Scott Palm is there. So hi, Scott. Hi, Paul. Joy C. Lucas says this was my favorite episode so far. So very interested. Maybe Joy, give us a call and tell us why. I'd be very curious. There's Alan Perry. There's Bjorn. There's Pam. There's Kenneth. Kenneth saying, unfortunately, there are a number of critiques to throw this episode's way. So many opinions. Different places, different opinions coming in. There's Eric saying hi to all of us by name. Thank you. There's Karen. Everybody. Again, I said Scott. There's Michael. There's Keith. There's David. Thank you, everybody who's joining us live here in the chat or who is joining us later. You mean the world to us. Well, speaking for myself, you mean the world to me. Hit like, hit share, just like Rekha said. Not a whole lot of news for what's coming up. We will be making some convention announcements soon, talking about what's happening at WonderCon, talking about what's happening at the Nichelle Nichols Farewell Con, talking about, then further down the road, you got Comic-Con, you got Vegas, you got all the cons coming up. So we'll make some detailed announcements about those later. But right now, just want to remind you, of course, to join us Monday nights at 7 next week. Wow, 6? Well, next week will be 6 episodes, so we're 60% into Picard's first season. I can't believe it. 10 episodes feels like it's just come and gone.
It's gonna fly by. It's gonna fly by. And right? I have to say, I noticed you were talking about a lot of cons.
Yes.
So was the show tonight? What?
That's very good.
Right? There's a lot of cons.
Yes, very good. It's like Ocean's 11. Yes. Hey, Rekha, why don't you let our friends in the audience know about our poll from last week? I'm going to go ahead and grab the stats from this week's poll.
Exciting.
And I'll catch up with you, okay?
Okay. So last week, guys, we talked about the policy of absolute candor. How many of you found it annoying? And how many of you found it liberating? So annoying, 35%, and liberating, 65%. You know what?
Yeah.
It takes a Trek audience to think outside of the box and be like, we're ready. We're ready for a new way of life. We're going to liberate ourselves. Yeah.
Okay. And you think that's what's going on here?
I think so.
They're ready. You think they're ready to go
for a better future where everybody's like a bunch of warrior nuns. Who doesn't want to be a warrior nun?
Well, yeah, okay.
I mean, right?
Yes.
Anybody watched Watchmen?
Yes.
Yeah. Regina King's amazing.
Hey, good point. Hey, I do want to mention something really quick because I am watching, I'm looking on a different device here, watching the feed. There might be some problems tonight with some of our upstream bandwidth messing up. So everybody rest assured the calls will be fine and the audio cast will be fine. But if you're having some trouble tonight during the live show, catching us live, don't worry about it. It might stop and start. It might have some drop frames in there. Might have a lot of drop frames, but don't worry. The show actually will be okay. In fact, I see Amy there saying the connection is going in and out, but I am here. Yes, you are here, and we will talk to you in a moment.
Thanks for sticking around with our technical difficulties.
Yeah, please do. Not everything can be accounted for all the time, so it happens. And like I said, you'll have the audio cast a little later to look forward to. Speaking of looking forward to things, hey Rekha, you mind if I give a little recap of the story?
Oh my God, please.
All right, the
Stardust.
Let's do the Stardust City rag.
Oh wait! But what about this week's poll?
Oh, this week's poll, of course. I was looking at it and then talking, and I forgot this week which was more gory. The moment with Icheb's eye this week in Stardust City Rag, or throwback to season 1 of Next Gen Rimmick's head debris. And yes, every time I say Rimmick's head debris, we are owed $100. So which was more gory, Icheb's eye or Rimmick's head debris? A dead heat. 48% saying Icheb's eye, 52% saying Rimmick's head debris. So that 30-year-old special effect, they're saying, is more gory than a contemporary special effect on Picard. I don't know.
I have to look that up.
Yeah, both pretty gross.
I don't want to look it up, but now I'm curious.
Oh, you have to.
Ugh.
You have to now.
Okay.
All right, here we go. A little recap of Stardust City Rag. 13 years ago on Vergessen, Icheb lies on an examination table being tortured and stripped for parts by a woman. When she's startled and asks for Bjazel, it is indeed 7 of 9 who enters, stunning the others in the room and attempting to save her friend. He's beyond saving, though, and tearfully 7 puts him out of his misery. Fast forward to today, and a reptilian, Vup, approaches Bjazel in Stardust City on Free Cloud, saying something about Bruce Maddox. She sees Bruce in a terrible state, not knowing what to do since the Tal Shiar completely destroyed his lab. He'd go on about this, but after a sip of his Tranya that Bjazel poisoned, he falls to the floor. On La Sirena, 7 visits Picard in his Holo Chateau. She wants to know why he's going to Free Cloud, and he wants to know the same from her. She's a Fenris Ranger now, a kind of vigilante. The details aren't important. And as for Picard, he's trying to help someone who will die without him. Elsewhere on the ship, Raffi and Rio speculate just how 7 and Picard know each other, and in her quarters, Dr. Girardi is watching a sentimental video of her and Bruce Maddox, playfully talking about cookies, then kissing, and Agnes wipes a tear from her eye. Arriving at Free Cloud, well, isn't this convenient? Bjazel is holding Bruce Maddox, and 7 thinks they have an in to get Maddox if they offer 7 herself as bait. Time to go full on Ocean's 11 or Picard's 5 or whatever we're calling it. Rios assumes the guise of a space pimp. He's there to make contact with Bjazel, entice her with the deal, which means 7 and all her intact Borg tech. That is, once he gets past Vup's rather unique interrogation and his keen sense of smell, which can alert him to a liar and also what that person had for breakfast. Fortunately, Rios was injected with something from Raffi's aromatherapy kit, which throws off the big lizard. The rest assume their roles. Picard as a flamboyant French traitor, and Seven as, as herself, but as a prisoner to be traded. Dr. Girardi will stay on board and operate the transporter to beam everyone to safety as soon as the word is given. And Raffi has given Seven a pattern enhancer to make it easier for them to all slip through. This whole time, Raffi has had her eye on something else. Once everyone is away on their mission, she drops by a family clinic on Free Cloud to find Gabriel Huang, her son. He and his wife are expecting a child, and here's Raffi, the mother who wasn't there, who embarrassed Gabriel with tales of conspiracy. It's a cold reunion, and in the end, Gabriel wants nothing to do with her. When our impossible mission force are introduced to Bjayzl, something is wrong. Bjayzl recognizes Seven, and Seven recognizes Bjayzl. Guns are drawn by Bjayzl's guards, and now the deal is clearly something else. Seven grabs Bjayzl by the throat, demanding that her guards disarm themselves. With the ruse being broken now and the pretense dropped, Seven explains that Bjayzl had lied about being a Fenris Ranger, had gained Seven's confidence, then stripped Borg, including Icheb, of their parts to make a profit. Icheb says Seven was the closest thing she had to family. Picard tells her that revenge won't help. By then, Vup has quietly drawn his weapon, handily stopped when Rio shoots him, and it's time for our heroes to beam out of there with Bruce Maddox. Safely on board La Sirena, it's time for Seven to say goodbye again. She's going back to Stardust City to finish her mission, but before she does, she wants to know if Picard feels like he ever regained his humanity after his experience with the Borg. Not all of it, he says, but he and she are still working on it. And she beams away, very armed, to confront Bjayzl one last time. It goes pretty much as Seven planned, vaporizing Bjayzl in short order, then taking on a security team as she attempts to shoot her way out. Back on La Sirena, Bruce Maddox is in the infirmary, barely hanging on, and he gets the update from Picard. Daj is dead, but Bruce says Soji is on the Borg cube. He sent her and Daj where he did to get to the bottom of how Starfleet is in cahoots with the Romulans. Picard tells Rios that their next stop is the artifact, aka the Borg cube. And hey, guess who was on board La Sirena who said she was done with them as soon as they got to Free Cloud? Yeah, Raffi is here, and she's just not in the mood to talk to anyone right now. Bruce needs to rest, to recover from his injuries, and not to worry. Dr. Girardi is there to take care of him, like really take care of him. She cancels the EMH, cancels his treatment. He dies. The end. Dun, dun, dun. She's a bad guy.
I don't know what is going on. What?
No? Okay, because I have ideas. Well, let me put it this way. All right, I'm disappointed maybe that she's not who we thought she was, just because you're trying to fake us out. But I think there's more to it than just that. So, because it would be, if it was just like, oh, she's a Romulan spy, I would just be like, oh, come on, really?
That would be so boring if that's all
it would be.
I think it's way more complicated. Certainly,
I do too.
Her performance was very layered.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things going on.
Thank you, as the resident actor here, pointing that out, because you are right. And in fact, there was a line of hers that I wrote down that I thought was so good right at the end. I wish you knew what I knew. I wish I didn't know what I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's not just like the mustache twirling Romulan, there's something deep and complex going on here.
And as you can probably see in my notes, I wrote in all caps. The only thing in all caps is, what the hell does she know? Right. That's awesome. Hey, we do have callers. We have many people who called in right away as soon as we went on the air. So let's just start talking to people, shall we? Yes, please.
All right. We got Paul, who's been waiting patiently since the top. Paul, how are you tonight?
Hi, John. Hi, Rekha.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm a little needy tonight.
Oh.
I had to call in to talk about this episode because I'm very heartbroken. I'm heartbroken.
Do tell.
Yeah. How are you heartbroken exactly? By who? Show us on the doll where you got heartbroken.
There's all sorts of things that would break my heart in this episode, but I want to talk about Seven. All those years on Voyager, discovering her humanity and maybe beyond that, and this is where she's ended up, and that's sad. That's a sad thing to happen. It's cool, but it's sad.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings.
Exactly,
because there's one way for her to go, which is her time on Voyager helped her regain her humanity, and she's fine, and all of that stuff worked. I mean, she's a work in progress, but she's on the right path, right?
Right.
The other way I look at it is this. Here's a person who had her humanity taken away from her at 5 years old. And everything through her formative years was the horror of that violation. And the one piece of it that gives me some hope is that, she and Picard have this moment of recognition. I think that was one of the best scenes in the whole episode.
Agreed.
And he says, we're both working on it. Sadly, she's working on it in this destructive way. But she has always been a character who has been trying to find herself and find meaning and find her place in the universe. And yet at every turn, it just the rug pulled out from under her during that terrible time. And here's somebody who did everything, quote unquote, right after she gets liberated from the Borg. But then the world kind of turned to hell around her,
Exactly. Yeah.
I kind of love that she's, from being from the collective is essentially now a lone ranger. She's had to swing to the other end of the spectrum to, one thing I was writing a little bit about in my notes is that metaphor, which I love. It's like for society, like how much of what we do is dictated by the noise of the many minds of the collective. How many of the choices do we make in a day are actually a collective choice? Like for instance, a man shaving his beard. Is that you that really wants to do that first thing in the morning? Or is that a collective choice that we've made as a culture that in order for you to go to the office, you have to shave your beard? So, and so how much, how do we get back to the humanity? How do we get back to ourself, the real self, who is the one who makes the decisions? It doesn't matter whether you shave your beard or not. It's just like, who's making that decision? Is it really yours?
It was my wife.
Yeah, that was your wife. That's fun.
But you know what I mean, as an example. But, there's things that we do all day long that we don't think about. Yeah. And I think that's a wonderful way to look at that metaphor of the Borg and what it means to be human.
She's certainly made a choice. She's made a choice about where she wants to be, and it's in some cases it's a selfless choice. She's filling the void.
It is.
Starfleet has
she's
left.
Being a vigilante for good, right?
Well, we hope
we hope.
Right now it's for revenge, but she's like it was for revenge.
It was a little, but she's being human at least.
It is very human. It is, and there's something. That moment between her and Picard is just so. I don't know. I totally bought it that she is just carrying around this profound hurt
trauma
for the 15 plus years of being part of the collective, for then trying desperately to find her place among humans where she also doesn't belong, but then also to have the only people that she can relate to being not only taken away from her but tortured and taken away from her. It's just
brutally.
Yeah, one horrible thing after another. She's having maybe the most human response it's an untamed human response. Man, I want more of her. Look, Jerry is just a fantastic actor in this, and I think Seven is one of the most interesting, complex, deep characters they have ever written on Star Trek. And man, I just want more of her on this show or wherever we can get her.
Will we though? That's This is all we get. It's kind of a.
Oh, it's not going to be all we get. No way. No way.
Well, Paul, what else? How are the many other ways that your heart was broken this week?
Well, there was. I will leave it for a lot of other people to call in and talk about more of the other heartbreaking things. I did want to mention that I put a lot of blame for what happened to her. The situation that they're all into. I mean, we haven't seen a Starfleet uniform or a ship since we left Earth, and like I said, the Rangers are trying to fill a void that that Starfleet used to have. So that's I mean, we can bring that into today's politics and today's situations. Buckle in. This could be political, but that's when a superpower, steps back, a void is created and problems, there are repercussions that will affect so many people. So that's. This is a heavy situation. This story is fabulous, but it's a heavy
it
story.
Is. And I think, it'll be interesting to look at all of this in a few weeks in retrospect when we've seen the whole story. But the thing that's interesting to me again here is, what if it's a very Picard thing? What if you did everything right, but you still lost, but things still went wrong around you? And here's Picard thinking and trying to do everything right way back when, during the Romulan relocation. And yet things went wrong around him. And here's Seven, the last we saw of her in Voyager, trying to do things right. And yet things went wrong around her. How do you react to that? They're trying. It's very human. Paul, thank you for calling in this week, okay?
You're welcome. You guys
we'll
have a
see you
nice
soon. And we'll hear everybody else's heartbreak on the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Good night. Thank you.
Personal or story related, whatever. You can just, you can share with us. We're here for you. Next up, we have Amy Emhoff. Welcome to the show. Hey, wait, Amy's muted. I see Amy.
I don't see Amy.
There we go. There's Amy. She is now unmuted.
You see
Amy, hello. Welcome to the show.
There she is.
Hey, can you hear us okay? Hello. Oh, we'll come back to Amy.
Hi, how are you?
There you are. Hey, yes, we can hear you. I don't know if you're catching the delay. You're a little crunchy.
Oh, it's pretty crunchy.
Yeah,
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I think I don't know if you're catching the delay on Facebook.
Hi.
Turn off the live stream if you are.
You.
Okay. What is shaking?
Hello.
What's on your mind tonight, Amy?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, we're going to pause you for just a second. We'll come back to you.
I am catching the delay.
Okay. I'm going to put you back on with Earl, and we will come back to you in a moment. Rekha, it's like the old days of terrestrial radio. You tell somebody to turn off their radio when they call into the station. It happens. So.
It happens.
Can you talk now?
Oh.
She's still there? I don't know what's happening.
I think so.
It sounds like.
Yep. So I saw her give the thumbs up. So we're going to try Amy one more time here, and we'll see what happens. If not, we'll go over to the Vice Admiral, then we'll come back to Amy. So, all right, Amy, are you with us in real time, seeing us, hearing us, talking to us? Nope. Okay, let's jump over to the Vice Admiral real quick. We'll come back to Amy for sure, because I definitely want to get her perspective. Amy is a massive Voyager fan, and rightfully so I'm looking forward to getting her impressions of tonight's episode of Picard. But
And
let's
she's
hop over
just a
to
smart cookie in general.
right. Yeah. So let's hop over to the Vice Admiral. Let's see how things are going tonight. Hey, by the way, there was a big Barfleet party last weekend or the weekend before.
It was the weekend before at Capricorn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How was that? How'd that go? Are you currently recovered?
I was gonna say, are you
and
still
we did
hungover?
we did win best room party. So
Bravo. Yes, you did. Because why wouldn't you?
we tend to put up a pretty good fight, So,
Nice.
But it was fun. It was a good deal of fun. So
Very
sorry
good.
You missed it, both of you.
Oh
But
man, well,
one of these days.
someday, yeah. All right, talk to us about Picard, episode 5, and take us down to Stardust City.
Well, if I'm looking through the chat and listen, and of course all the things online, there's a whole lot of people that have a whole lot of really, really big things to talk about this episode. So I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to say something more simple.
If you want.
I know.
Okay.
I'm going to go with something a little more simple.
Okay.
Why is it that there is such a market for used Borg parts?
It's a good question.
I was wondering that myself.
Yeah.
Because if Borg parts are all made by nanoprobes are what sort of operating them, building them, keeping them running in your body, wouldn't they just do what they do, and that is to say keep going and then turning you completely Borg and then having you assimilate others? I mean, isn't this just sort of a bad idea all around? By the way, Earl says, remember to look for the union label and buy only genuine AC Delco Borg parts. He is right. He is not mistaken in that.
I assume that most of them, if they're just pulling them apart, and I don't mean that in a crude way, but if they're, the nanoprobe dispensers have to be a part of that too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So all that stuff, from what we know of the Borg, talks to each other and works in concert with each other. And that's a little like if you just handed me, if we were just doing a Bionic Man thing and you said, here's an arm to make you throw faster, or here are legs to make you run faster. Like, fine. But Borg are a whole other ball game. And that's worrisome. And who is buying those those things like an ocular implant? Who is buying that? And what are they doing with it?
We've only seen that there's a huge market for it. We don't know what that market is doing with it, or who that market is represented by, other than obviously the underworld.
Yeah. I'm greatly concerned by this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's disgusting.
I don't want Borg parts.
One would think nobody does, except for liberated Borg who might need them. Like, after all, as they say, I didn't remember who was mentioning in the chat, but yeah, one of the deep cuts here is that didn't Icheb donate his cortical node to 7 in Voyager? Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. So that's why they couldn't find it. Oh man. Oh yeah, this is bad. This is bad all around. Oh yeah, that makes it even worse, doesn't it? Yeah. Taking Borg parts, installing them yourself. None of this is good. All right. Well, thanks for bringing us down, man. Well, I don't think there's a lot of up in this episode, except for Picard's over-the-top performance.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was amazing. Who here thought of Monty Python? Yeah. Okay. I thought so, because I know Earl did. We had a little talk earlier about that, and yeah, whenever given a chance to work in the French Knights, yeah, exactly. Pretty awesome. Cool, man. All right. So cool. I kept mine. I thought I was keeping it light. I didn't, but let me
simple and simply dark.
Let me make room here so Amy can get in here, and you guys have a great week, and we'll talk again next week, hopefully. You too, my friend. We'll talk then.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
You too.
All right. The moment we've all been waiting for. We're going to head back to Amy. Amy, welcome to the show.
Hi, John. Hi, Rekha. You can hear me now?
Yes, you're a little crunchy.
I had to take off my headphones. They were a problem.
Okay. You're a little crunchy, but I think we can translate. So,
okay, great.
Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
So I was super thrilled, as you might expect, given that I host the Women of Trek panel every year, which Rekha was on last summer. It was so fun in Vegas. I was very thrilled to see 7 of 9 again. Even more thrilled to see her not in a cat suit, not wearing heels, kicking ass on her own terms, having that moment where she's kind of out. She's not Starfleet. She's never been Starfleet, and she's always chased against that Starfleet rule structure. And now she's a ranger. She's a vigilante. She can do what she wants. She can dispense the justice how she feels is best. And of course, she and Janeway were always in contention. And I really thought that she benefited from being outside the structure. And Picard seems to be all about what they're doing outside the structure.
Yeah, I mean, that's I got no argument with that. Honestly, I don't.
Especially with what we learned in this episode.
Yeah.
Let's get out of that structure.
Exactly. It's like no matter what with 7, even if you put her in the Starfleet structure, she's going to be her own person, and that is a very unique situation to be the human that she is, but the Borg that she is / was.
Yeah, and I think she's kind of rebelled against that orderliness that she grew up in, that she the assimilation that she grew up in. She doesn't. I mean, obviously she retains some of that. I noticed somebody tweeted that she did that little head tilt that she does.
Oh yeah.
As 7, right when she kind of dropped in, oh, you owe me shit card. But she's definitely stepped outside her very rigid self. She drinks bourbon. She's rocking her leather and her phaser rifles. I think that seeing that as someone who grew up seeing Janeway as my top favorite, but then being able to see 7 again as someone who's older, who has gone through this political climate, someone who's kind of existed in the era where we're marching and we're asking, the women's march, and we're asking for more rights, and we're asking for, we're asking for the kind of future that I hope Starfleet would be fighting for. Then to see 7 coming in and doing that, it gave me a real sense of pride and a real sense of seeing her, just from a feminist perspective too.
That is awesome to hear. Hey,
That's
listen.
great. So great.
Yeah, your comments are awesome to hear. I apologize that the audio, the connection is not good. It's very crunchy on our end. So I'm going to say good night for now, but I want you to call back, or honestly, we record this separately and release it in a supplemental or something, because this is very, very cool. And I really appreciate your insights into 7 and obviously the 7 relationship with, the Voyager crew. And then obviously what became of 7. I think that's what's so cool, is to figure out that 14 years in between and what became of her. Amy, thank you so much for calling in, and we'll see you soon. All right, cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Rekha, before we get to some more callers, some great comments that I wanted to call out here. And again, thank you for everybody who's bearing with any technical stuff going on tonight. Chris Riker says, do we want to mention Mr. Mott's hair empire? So we do have a reference. You have that establishing shot of Stardust City, and you've got Quark's bar, which is awesome. But Mott, has he just established a hair empire as the Bolian barber, or has he gone into a new business? Is he in the nightlife business now? So that's very cool, definitely. And Joy Lucas points out Quark's bar sighting. Yes, absolutely. Carlos, no one expects the French Inquisition. I see what you did there, Carlos. Very clever. David says the market, what's happening in this future is the market for Borg parts is that they make great electric razors, tooth sharpeners, and deep fryers. So now we know exactly what's happening there with all the Borg parts. Yeah. Oh, and Paul, who just called us, he makes a very good point. He says, I didn't expect Elner to be the comedy relief on this show.
I know, right?
Right?
Yeah, I didn't expect that either. That was great. Really cute.
After everybody gets the personalized ads, I did not get one.
Yeah.
So good.
He doesn't know how to do it.
That was awesome. So yeah, a lot of good comments here, and just people being patient with us with the stream. But thank you all who are hanging in there. Hey, and actually, Joy followed up by saying, I enjoyed Eleanor in this episode. His reaction was very old-timey Star Trek alien to me.
Yeah.
And him looking up to Rios as a male figure was adorable.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that, but now that I think about it, yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
That's very awesome. Here you go. Rick says, I still can't believe Rekha has joined our group. Right?
I'm here.
Hey, let's go ahead and take another call. It looks like we had Eric, who is next. Eric, who I believe is on the phone tonight. Eric, are you there?
I am. Do you hear me?
We sure do. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Welcome.
Hi. Well, I was noticing in the last couple of episodes that there are a couple of mythological references that seemed kind of interesting because it's not unusual for there to be those sort of allusions in Star Trek, but I think they might have been digging kind of deep to try to make them relevant to the story. In particular, the Fenris Raiders and Vashti. And I don't know how familiar you are with either of those figures, but I can go into it a little bit if you.
Yeah, please tell us. Let's talk about the Fenris Raiders because I know that Vashti. There was a little bit of discussion, I believe, in the chat last week about that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm very curious about the Fenris Raiders.
So Fenris was in Norse mythology, also known as Fenrir, was a wolf that was the son of Loki, but he was being raised in Asgard with the gods. The god of justice, Tyr, who is a very kind of a hands-on kind of god of justice, not like a judge, but more of a more like physical law enforcement, trial by ordeal and by combat. And he raised him as a pup, but he got bigger and bigger and bigger, and his hunger became enormous. And eventually, Odin, king of the gods, decided that he needed to be bound, and they tried to test his. They brought chains and under the pretense of him testing his strength, and the first two chains they brought broke, and then they made an even stronger chain that was made out of ingredients that are impossible, things that can't exist. But it was the strongest chain, and he knew what was up, and he knew that this chain would bind him, and he would only accept to be bound if Tyr would put his hand in Fenris's mouth. And when he did this, the chain went around him, and Fenris snapped Tyr's hand off. And then at the end of in Ragnarok, the Doom of the Gods, he will become the chain will break, and he goes after Odin and devours him. And the Fenris in this Fenris Raiders, I think, is kind of interesting because that kind of brings to mind the Borg, and that she named the Fenris Raiders as such because being ex-Borg and also being kind of upset with the lack of justice, they're having to take justice into her own hands.
Yeah.
Because there is no law out there.
That was a great line. Picard, I forgot how he phrased it, but something saying about taking the law into your own hands or breaking the law. And she doesn't what law? Yeah, and like she had to do what she would with the Jazel, because otherwise she would just go back to harvesting more Borg parts. Right.
So.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people didn't like what she did at the end of that, but there really wasn't another way. So you said there is other. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm sure there could have been another way, but that's the one she chose.
Well,
yeah.
That was the only way that she saw that she could see, and who knows if they got some other sort of help to take care of it, to take care of the problem, how long that would take. She might have gotten away. I don't know. You said there was talk about Vashti last week with the Esther story.
I want to say that
last week.
Yeah, I want to say that there was something about that in the chat, or it came up somewhere. We didn't go into it in the into the show, but yes, it did come up somewhere. Was there a comment about that, or something story related on that?
Just,
you wanted to mention?
I thought that it was kind of. It was. I mean, the idea of Vashti was kind of become a feminist icon, and the planet of where there are warrior nuns seemed interesting. But then in the most recent episode, there was there's a bit with Eleanor and about how they didn't want him to lie, but they just wanted him to keep his mouth shut, which is kind of a thing that happens in the Esther story when she's not supposed to tell the king that she's a Jew, but she's not supposed to lie. Just don't volunteer that information. Also, in Purim, people wear ridiculous outfits as part of the celebration. So there's that.
Nice. I like the sound of this. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, going off of that, I kind of wanted to also talk about the Romulan mythology from the previous episode. I wanted to call in last week, but I wasn't able to get in. But the whole thing about the destroyer that will end all life, and the fact that this is an AI, and I have to wonder, does this tie into season 2 of Discovery?
Wait. Rekha's our resident Discovery expert.
So does it tie into Control?
No idea. I mean,
it remains to be seen, right?
Yeah. I have no idea if they're trying to make connections between those two worlds. It doesn't seem obvious to me.
Yeah.
But okay, go ahead.
Oh no, I wouldn't think so, but I mean that's not, at least thematically. I can see how we can connect those threads. So yeah.
It seems kind of odd to me that they would end. I mean, it's mostly the second half of season 2 of Discovery with the going on about Control taking over, but then they go, the next Trek we see is this whole plot line about evil AI taking over. And while they did that in old Trek, but you wouldn't get like What Little Girls Are Made of, followed by a Taste of Armageddon, followed by Return of the Archons, back to back to back. But we're getting these two AI destroying all life stories.
Right.
I mean, I feel like it's sort of part of the zeitgeist right now. You know, it's just AI is it's in the freaking newspapers right now.
Yeah, I think that's definitely that has to be an influence on what's going now.
And I honestly think about Battlestar a lot with this show too, with all the AI stuff. And I mean, her being the destroyer, while Kara Thrace was the harbinger of death. It's definitely some similar themes.
It's true.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Eric, we've got many more calls to get to, so I hope you don't mind if we say goodbye.
Right.
But please call us back.
Pleasure.
Appreciate your insights. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Cool.
Bye.
Hey, thank you. Take care. Without wasting a moment, we're just going to jump right over to Karen, who is on the phone. Karen, welcome to the show again.
Hi. I hope that can you hear me? Okay.
We sure can. Loud and clear. What's on your mind tonight?
Great. Well, I'm going to go back to the big scene.
Do it.
Just because I feel, it was just so sad, and I'm very sad. I love Egypt from Voyager so much, and I'm sad in that way, but I'm sad that the controversy kind of has taken away from the scene itself, which was so important in setting up what we know of Seven, who I think doing what she's doing is kind of logical, because there were many points through Voyager where she was trying to make up for assimilating people without thought, without regard. And so it kind of makes sense that she has become this sort of justice for people who cannot help themselves. She's atoning. And this with Icheb really sets up not just her character arc, but it accomplished a lot of other things. It showed us how Borg are often regarded. We thought the Romulans were being somewhat callous and offhand. They were treating them like angels compared to these people. Everybody seems to consider them as very beneath them, with anger. We have tons of people in this era who are, know somebody who died at Wolf 359 or was assimilated. I'm sure people are afraid of them, even though they're ex-Borg, or, look at them as artificial, even though they are organic. They are people, and especially once disconnected from the hive, regained their individuality. And it accomplished this idea that they just aren't regarded in that way. Plus, they're regarded as a resource, just a resource of monetary or power or whatever. There probably are not that many ex-Borg out there, which is probably why the market is so hot. And, this one scene accomplished a whole lot of storytelling. And I think that's gotten glossed over because people are upset about how it made them feel emotionally, when we've had so much throughout Star Trek because of the era, or just for the tidiness. I mean, we joke about red shirt deaths. We've seen suicide, and the defector, that admiral, it has to kill himself by the end. We've had murders, shows based around murders, but we didn't see, people get shot continuously, but it's tidy. They either disintegrate or disappear. So this one scene, which established so much character and story richness, is kind of getting diminished by the controversy. And I think that's sad, because I think how they filmed it was not gratuitous. I just did not see it as gratuitous, and it was sad, and it was a shame, and it was it was supposed to make you feel. But unfortunately, I think people are missing the point that it was supposed to make you feel that the Borg, who we always regarded as the big villain, are this victim too. Yeah. Which I find really interesting. Yeah. So anyhow, I don't know. I could talk about this show for an hour.
I totally agree with you, Karen, and I found it very difficult to watch, but I did feel that it was on point with the story. It should be difficult to watch, and it is tricky because I love the clean, wholesome nature of Trek, and yet what we're talking about is not clean and wholesome. It's this stuff is happening in the world. So I'm always torn with these kinds of things. I do think there's a point where, okay, we don't need to see it so intensely because it doesn't serve us, and maybe tortures us or something. But then on the other hand, it can wake you up to the truths that are happening. It can wake you up to the violence that needs to be handled.
Well, it's kind of that. Agnes was right. Space is full of stuff, and the universe is full of stuff that includes the Star Trek universe. And we always looked at it through one lens. We looked at this one spot. We looked at it through a kind of enclosed universe of a starship. There was always more universe there And if we only ever view something through one lens and look at one spot and look at the pretty stuff or the stuff that comforts us, and we don't break out, we don't improve the ugly spots, and we may miss an even more beautiful spot that we come to. That's kind of how I feel about that.
100%.
Oh.
You know,
Hey,
Yeah.
you want to host a podcast, Karen?
Yeah, totally. Very insightful.
I love that.
I'm digging what you laying down, girl.
So cool. And yes, just, to really drive home that point again, that informed so much about what we got out of 7. And they played that scene magnificently. I'm glad that it's in there. Now, was removing his eye gory? Yes. Do they have better medical technology in the 24th century? Yes. But it wasn't that moment that was important. The moment that's important is her coming in, finding him, and realizing what she has to do. That says everything you need to know about that character.
But I felt like that whole setup there was like the back shop, butcher shop.
Yeah.
The back alley doctor that you go to, doctor in quotation marks. And that was also kind of important. It's just like that was the disregard. This wasn't about being, having
It's like
actual
it's
medical.
tricky. It's like those dog videos, where they show the dogs being abused in other parts of the world. And there's that line, right? There's the line where it's like, okay, this is happening and you need to see it so that you are moved to do something about it. And then there's then they go past that line and it just becomes like torture.
Yeah.
That they're inflicting upon the viewer. It's like,
I think that had that continued on, or we saw, multiple people and, person after person, that would get gratuitous. But this was an important character affecting another important character, setting up the scene of how an entire, basically race, even though they're all different species, is being perceived, that kind of thing. It was really just one scene, and the totality of the time. I mean, there was so much more going on in this episode, and in a matter of 4 minutes or whatever, you communicated so much. It's kind of amazing, and I don't know. I feel like it was justified, and I'm sad that the controversy has taken away from really the depth of it.
Yeah, agreed. Well, and I think that might be an interesting thing to come back to after the run of the series and see how those controversial moments kind of stack up, and what we got as a totality after kind of processing all of that. Karen, I would love to do this all night, but we've got a couple more people waiting. So I really hope that you will join us again. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, next up we've got Brian. Brian on video. How are you tonight, sir? Hey, Brian, you're with us live. What is on your mind tonight?
Back with you again.
Yeah. What's happening?
Well, I had a couple of things. Just very briefly, I think I came in late, so you may have already touched on it, but we finally learned why Picard never used his real French accent all these years on Star Trek.
Wait, so you think that was the real accent, but his Shakespearean English, that was the put on to hide the real...
Yeah, he took on this affected... Yeah, and apparently his whole family did too, Robert and everyone.
Right,
so,
totally.
Know that.
No, that makes sense. That was the perfect retcon.
Because I think I heard you mention Monty Python at one point, and I thought maybe you were talking about John Cleese, because it did sound like a John Cleese French accent. After all these years, we finally get a French accent out of him, and this is what we get. Could not believe it. Also, I was wondering, am I the only one, and maybe it's just a sign of age, but I could not remember who Eacham was until I actually looked it up. I said, "Oh yeah, there was those Borg kids from season 6 or something."
Yeah, late in Voyager's run, and I want to say he was on 4 episodes. They explored the Icheb character, and look, and there's good stuff there, but again, you're talking about up until, before Discovery premiered, 730 plus hours of Star Trek. So there's a lot.
I thought I'd memorized them all, but apparently
that would be very impressive. That would be very impressive indeed. But there's a lot there, and look, everybody has a favorite.
Bad Trekkie.
Well, no. Everybody has their favorites. Everybody has their least favorites, and everybody kind of has their sacred Star Trek cow as well. Like, oh, you can't touch that character. You can't change this. And you know what? I want the storytellers to be able to tell their story. And I think it was more powerful to see that moment with Ichab than to just make up somebody else. And so I
agree. I mean, once I saw what was going on, I thought that was pretty well done. It's just that it was frankly lost on me a little bit because I had forgotten about him because it had been so long ago. And so I think later Voyager and Enterprise episodes, I don't recall. I guess I'm going to have to follow that podcast of yours and start watching them every day.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, we do have one more caller, but Brian, I don't want to cut you short. Is there anything else on your mind tonight?
I had something a couple of weeks ago I hadn't get a chance to call in about. I just put it out there. It's like I thought the use of Vasquez rocks was a little too meta.
Yeah.
I mean, after all this time, it's kind of like, well, yeah, it's cute. You're using Vasquez rocks for the 18th time or whatever. But really, I mean, actually, I thought what was funny is that Raffi's home looks like it might have been that diner from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Remember?
That's good. That's good. I like it. I just like the idea that you could go live in Vasquez Rocks in the future. I mean, that's a beautiful place, and you can't live there now.
Well, yeah, I actually expected it to be a tourist attraction by the 24th century, right? I mean, Mojave apparently has this giant city sprouting out of it in Pike's time, according to map paintings we saw in the page. So I think the desert was fully populated by now. Anyway, I'll let you go.
Brian, thanks so much for calling in tonight. I like your purple lights too. That's very cool.
Oh, thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Brian.
Have a good one, Brian. Cheers.
Good night.
Bye.
All right. And then looks like we're going to get to everybody. We've got Eric standing by. So Eric, what's up tonight?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm going to talk really fast because I'm not doing drugs. I just know we have very limited time.
Thank you.
Good to know.
I am so torn by this because I love the story of Picard that we're getting, and I love the series, and yet I can't help. I'm reluctantly finding myself agreeing with people who are saying, "Is this really?" It seems like they're not subscribing to Gene Roddenberry's vision. I mean, the thing about it is, and I guess I was always the one saying, no, we're much more noble as a species if we see ourselves overcoming these things as opposed to having already overcome them. And when Star Trek VI came out and I heard Gene Roddenberry's opinions, I was like, oh, Gene, come on. But now that we are kind of in our own version of the 60s, without getting too on the nose, I'm finding it's hitting me harder. And I really wish I had that vision of, hey, we get past all this. And the way, maybe it's because I'm reading the novel Last Best Hope, which goes into a lot of the background of what happened before the series starts. But it's like, I can't help but think, man, humans are just as screwed up now as they ever were before. Like, I mean, now is in the 24th century as they ever have been. They just have. But then I go back to, I will not kill today. And I know, I mean, it's like I'm contradicting myself, but that's kind of where I am right now. I've got two minds at war about how I feel about this. It's just,
Man, you hit the nail on the head. Rekha and I were having a very similar conversation to this before the show tonight. And I look, I'm of two minds about it, and I'm trying to reconcile those pieces because I like the storytelling. I like the characters. I want to see these characters challenged, and I want to see them grow, and I want to see something that is important and relevant. I don't want things to just sort of be whitewashed. And at the same time, I'm doing what you're doing, which is asking myself, is there room for the positive, uplifting, visionary stories of the future that don't seem hokey, that don't seem dated, how do you do that in a modern storytelling way?
Yeah. One thing John and I both commented on is that we got to watch Star Trek as kids, like pretty young. Like he was 5, I was 8 when we both started watching Star Trek, and a kid shouldn't watch Picard.
Right.
And you know, like, and that what that did for us at that tender young age to actually have that represented, a world that's a better place, was so powerful.
Well, and even that's kind of gotten besmirched, because in Star Trek 4, they're surprised at the swearing. And yet, if you look at Discovery and now Picard as canon, they were swearing all, I mean, maybe not so much, it would only happen a couple times in Discovery, but still, it's kind of like, where'd that go?
It's tricky though, because the storytelling, you know, it's important to talk about truth, and truth is ugly sometimes. So it's tricky.
Man,
yeah,
Eric,
I like that. That's why I'm torn, because I agree with everything everybody's saying.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, we have run over time.
Oh,
I'm
we
afraid
have.
to say. But listen, this is the conversation though that I really want to have through this show and beyond this show, because this is it's definitely not the kind of thing that will get answered in a Facebook comment. You know, I think I see so much just sort of vitriol from both sides here about, like, it is Star Trek and you're wrong if you say otherwise. And other people, no, it's not Star Trek. This is not this. And they invoke the name of Gene Roddenberry. I'm like, no. Let's talk about story first.
Right.
And let's figure out what's important to us and how to tell stories. Eric, thank you so much. What an interesting way to end the show tonight. Please call back, okay?
I will do that. Thanks for taking the call in such a short, bit of time.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Rekha, we so many good calls, so much good conversation. We didn't stop for anything.
No, we didn't. Are we going to even talk about the other shows here as part of our wrap up, or are we out of time?
Just say the address, podcast.roddenberry.com. Boom, your turn.
Okay. What?
Podcast.roddenberry.com. I did it for you again.
But that's the last thing. So now what do I say? Credits?
There you go. Read the credits.
But it's in black. Those are what you're supposed to read. Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. The executive producer is Rod Roddenberry. The technical production team on Mission Log is Earl Green. Thanks, Earl. You're awesome. Be sure to visit podcastroddenberry.com for the latest Roddenberry podcast network, including not just Mission Log, but also Women at Warp, Priority One, the Trek Files, and your new daily Star Trek news. If you want to support Mission Log directly, hey, give us a look over at patreon.com/Mission Log. Some fun items there, including early access videos to your weekly Mission Log. Thank you, everyone who joined us live, and thank you ahead of time to those who are going to be joining us later. And we will talk to you next week.